Radio. Hello, vinyl community, back again. And as you can tell from the intro, I'm going to be talking about radio shows today and kind of a unique world they are. So I have to thank Melinda Murphy because she had gifted me this guy, which is the Dick Clark National Music Survey from April 24th of 1982. Now, radio shows are a piece of nostalgia for me. I remember long drives across the state of Wyoming to see relatives that were living 5 hours away. And if you've never been to Wyoming, Wyoming has its beauty, it has its mountains, but it also has its desert. And it can make for a very arduous and boring drive. And when I was growing up, you know, the radio shows are what we listened to. Now, I don't remember listening to Dick Clark, and, you know, those of you who are in Europe are probably wondering, well, who the heck is Dick Clark? Dick Clark is really one of the oldest DJs, and I guess you could really call him the original video disc jockey to some degree, because he had the show called The American Bandstand, which started off in the late 50s, I want to say, and it went all the way through the 1980s. And so people really recognized him from television. But he was also a prominent radio host. I want to say he also did some game shows here. He had a style of presentation that made you relate to him, you know, which is important for being a DJ. You need to be able to relate to the person. You need to come across as a friend, so to speak.
The Dick Clark National Music Survey.
Hi, I'm John Stratton, and I listen to the Dick Clark National Music Survey on WSBR in Baltimore, Maryland. Here's my question, Dick. Which of the four compass directions, north, east, west, or south, has appeared in the most top 10 song titles?
Well, John, it's about time somebody tried to give this show a little direction. Actually, our National Music Survey navigator was astonished to learn how few points of the compass have been mentioned in hit song titles. Johnny Horton found his way north to Alaska in 1960. The South rose again at least 4 times with South Street by the Orlons in 1963, Glenn Campbell's Southern Nights in 1977, Southtown, USA by the Dixie Bells back in 1964, and the South's Gonna Do It Again from Charlie Daniels in 1975. And for you who believe that the West is best, well, there's Westbound Number 9 by Flaming Ember, that was 1970, Western Movies by the Olympics from 1958, The Five Americans, Telegraphic Western Union from 1967. But I tell you what happened here, the East seems to be the big loser when it comes to song titles. As a matter of fact, we could only find one tune mentioning the East, and it was sort of a shared credit, East West by Herman's Hermits from 1966.
You know, the radio stations would receive LP versions of these. In some cases, I think they did reel-to-reel tapes, but the LPs, you could do rapid production and get them out to the radio stations. And what makes these so collectible is that, you know, they were supposed to be sent back or destroyed after the fact. I mean, these are interesting because it's a time capsule, and, you know, Miss Murphy, Melinda Murphy, wrote me a nice note, and she said, yes, it is indeed a time capsule. And for me, what's interesting is listening to some of the commercials at the time, and each of these have some unique commercials, which uh, a lot of the products are no longer around anymore, which is kind of funny.
The American woman has a look all her own, out in a crowd or just being alone. A fit that's right, Xena jeans for the American way of life. She knows she wants comfortable clothes that let her be free wherever she goes. Xena jeans feel so right. Xena jeans for the American way of life. Xena jeans feel so right. Xena jeans for the American way of life.
So I have to thank Melinda Murphy for kind of getting me off into a little bit of a kick. So Melinda, if you've seen her channel, what she's been doing is she's been looking for Casey Kasem recordings, and I just managed to pick one up. This is also from around the same time. It's from January 29th, 1983. Box is kind of beat up, but these things are hard to find. And Casey Kasem is probably, in the 70s and early 80s, is probably one of the best known DJs. Casey Kasem, he started out as kind of a radio actor, and he did a lot of voice work. In the United States, he's really known for the voice of Shaggy on the old Scooby-Doo cartoon. So he did a lot of cartoon vocal work.
Well, like if I had a face like that, I'd moan too.
Now, what made Casey Kasem so unique was his delivery style. He had different segments. He had song dedications. He had people that would write in and he would do a song for them.
A listener wants to know what #1 song had the fewest letters in its title. Well, there are 4 #1 songs with only 3 letters in their titles: ABC, War, Why, and a tender ballad about a 4-legged animal that most people detest. Details coming up.
Their top 40 was based on the Billboard magazine in the United States, which looked at the sales of albums, and they really based their top 40 based on the sale of singles. And on long drives on the weekends that were 4 or 5 hours long, this is what we'd listen to outside of a cassette in the cassette deck. This was always on. It's like comfort food, so to speak. It's like a McDonald's. You're always going to find it. It's there. You know how it tastes like. But these things are gone. I don't listen to the radio that often, and there's something to be said about having a centralized distribution for how you receive your entertainment. I mean, because everybody can relate to certain things. Nowadays, I think that's a little more challenging because there's so many different avenues to get your entertainment. So it has its pros and cons. I mean, I can't relate to the newer generation growing up, and I'm sure they can't relate to a lot of what I like. Would I try and seek all of these out? Probably not. I mean, I like it for what it is. I have this piece of nostalgia. Now, another question you might be asking, does it audiophile? Absolutely not, because each of these sets, it's like anywhere from 3 to 5 to 6 LPs, and each side they're trying to cram in at least 30 minutes of content. So when you're going over 20 minutes of content on a record, you get compression. Moreover, these are not coming from source material. They're probably from dub tapes. And so it's really, really lo-fi. You do not buy these for the audiophile content. You buy that for the nostalgia, and they are extremely rare. And this one in particular, I like it for the commercials, because the commercials on this one, it's interesting because I never knew that Air Supply did a Dr. Pepper commercial. So here's a sample.
For Dr. Pepper, here's Air Supply.
To be a pepper, original like a pepper, all you gotta do is taste. To be a pepper,
So another one of the most iconic American DJs is Wolfman Jack. And Wolfman Jack is synonymous with the movie American Graffiti. He was on an AM station that was based in Texas, right at the border. And the strength of their transmitter was so strong, you could hear them all the way throughout North America. And in fact, parts of Asia and even Russia could pick up his broadcast. Out of all the radio personalities, Wolfman is the most distinctive because he has a very distinctive voice. He is a bit of a clown, so to speak. And, you know, he does a little bit of voiceovers into some of the songs. And you really get into Wolfman because of his personality. And there are people that collect his shows. These sets were put out by the Armed Forces Network, so they're really made for military people serving overseas. And, you know, it's fun because it's not really a top 40. It is whatever he wanted to play. There are songs from the 60s, there are songs from the 70s on here. The commercials here are for the Air Force, trying to do a little bit of recruitment, which for me it's odd because if they're broadcasting on the Armed Forces radio network, I mean, yeah, you got servicemen that are already listening to it, so why do you need to recruit them? So that fact was a little bit bizarre to me, but you know, here's just a little bit of sampling from Wolfman Jack.
Wolfman Jack! Stop! Don't touch the sound! Here comes the Wolfman! Stop! Don't move right now! Here comes the Wolfman! Wolfman Jack!
Oh, let me tell you, baby! Jumping jukebox giant Paul man! Alright! Now play some rock and roll for the United States Air Force. Wolfman Jack from Hollywood. Gonna get down for you, mama. Got to play that rock and roll immediately or face the wrath of the mighty cranch pin ruler of the left-handed plugged-in cosmos. Go ahead now. Gilbert O'Sullivan, look out.
So one of the things that I've been looking for is King Biscuit Flower Hour LPs. King Biscuit Flower Hour was a radio show that ran from the 70s all the way through the 80s, and they did LP copies of their shows for radio stations, and so they're highly sought out depending on the artist. I'm just trying to find the right artist that I'd really like to have a concert from. They too are extremely rare, so I'm curious. Shoot me a comment down below. Do you have any of these? What do you think? You know, I've heard some of them on YouTube, and the quality is really, really good. I mean, they were professionally mic'd, going through the soundboard. I don't know about the mixing and the mastering, but you know, the ones I have heard, I've really liked. So that's kind of a grail. Another one that I'm looking for is the BBC transcription services of Led Zeppelin. So, of course, Led Zeppelin did their famous Live at the BBC set, but their 1971 set, like Whole Lot of Love, was truncated, or probably due to rights issues, but there are CD versions out there which have the complete set unedited, and that's something that I really, really like to find, but you know, the quantities of these things are extremely limited. But before Melinda got me off on this LP kick, I had been collecting CDs of different artists that I like. Here's one from the Media America Radio of Jimmy Page and Robert Plant. I really like them because they have interviews with the artists. They incorporate either live music or they do have cuts from the albums that are coming up. So it's just another time capsule. They also have commercials and cue sheets like I'm showing you here. Definitely worth checking out. So I'm curious, do you guys collect radio shows? What do you think of them? Do you think it's a waste of time? For me, I have to thank Melinda Murphy again for sending me off on this mini kick. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time.
These songs are so good, that I'll kill somebody for this CD collection. Isn't that right, Angela?
That's so. I can't believe I'm sitting here with Air Supply. You guys are just the epitome of soft rock and all its soft rock goodness. And now let's hear some other songs. Thanks, Angela. Yes, we're going to listen to a few other songs that are emblematic of the soft rock. I'm so lost without you. I can't believe I have waited for so long.
This is it. Make no mistake where you are.
This is it. I can't believe I'm sitting here with Air Supply.
Keep your panties on, Angela.
Of course, you're sitting here with Air Supply because we're the best. And, of course, soft rock was taking a trend.